Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is our second Facebook Live video, and we are talking today about mental health awareness. Some of you mentioned, Max, come back. Some of you mentioned you wanted to see Max on video. So he's hanging out here with me today. He gets a little bit bored sometimes when I'm talking too much. So he is sitting here beside me, though, and so we can say, hello, Max, say hello to everyone. So I will probably show you some things with him a little bit later in the week. But today we're going to talk about mental health awareness and how to talk with your child about mental health. Now, I know talking to your kids about mental health is something that is really hard to think about. It's probably a conversation you don't really want to have. It can be very awkward or uncomfortable, just like talking about puberty or talking about, the birds and the bees and things like that. But it is a conversation we need to have. And many of you, your suggestions aligned with mental health, things like anxiety, depression, and mental health resources in our community. So first, let's talk a little bit about why we should talk about mental health with our kids. And I use the term mental health rather than mental illness, and I think that's important. Just like when we talk about physical health and physical illness, we talk more about healthy habits and healthy choices. The foods we eat, getting exercise, washing our hands so that we don't get sick, things like that. So we want to focus on healthy choices and taking care of our mental health rather than talking about all of the mental illnesses that are out there. And as you tune in today, if you have questions, you can comment those, and I will stop a couple of times just to address any questions that you have as well. So why are we talking about mental health? First, because it is an issue, and I know sometimes people think with elementary age kids that it's not, but it really is. It is actually on the rise. We're seeing a lot more instances of things like anxiety and depression. We could have a whole separate conversation about why that is. There's research about social media. There's research about just politics and the state of our country, the stress of testing in schools, things like that. And that's a whole separate conversation. But we do see a rise of kids who just can't cope when things are not going the way that they should. We also know that the second leading cause of death among kids from 10 to 14, and when you think about a 10-year-old that is elementary aged kids, the second leading cause of death among kids ages 10 to 14 is suicide. So that's a pretty big deal, and that means that we need to be talking about it more. Those 10-year-olds probably didn't go straight to suicide. They had some other things that happened when they were 8, 9 years old that ended up there. So we are going to talk about it today. First, probably you're thinking, how do I start this conversation? How do I talk to my kids? First, I think the most important thing to do is to model good mental health yourself. Are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing to handle things like stress and when you get overwhelmed or when bad things happen? What are you doing? Do you have some calming strategies that you do that your kids see you practice? Do you do yoga? Do you take time for yourself? Or are you constantly stressed and overwhelmed and overworked and they see that? Are they seeing you self-medicate with alcohol and drugs? Are they seeing you struggle and not doing anything to take care of yourself? So my first piece of advice is to take care of you. It's just like the gas mask, and we hear that all the time, or the oxygen mask on an airplane, that they tell you to put your mask on before you put it on for a child or someone sitting next to you. It's the same thing with mental health. So if there are things you're struggling with, I encourage you to seek counseling, to look for outlets. And the thing is that mental health affects us all. We all have a certain amount of stress or things that happen in our lives, and we all need support and help sometimes. We all need some strategies that help us to manage that and manage those emotions. So whatever it is for you, let your kids see that. And I think that's the number one thing you can do, is to model for them what it means to take care of your health. But also to be transparent. If, for example, you're seeing a counselor, it's good to just make that normal, just like going to the dentist or the doctor or the eye doctor, that, hey, I'm going to go see my therapist today. Or, you're taking maybe a medication for something, that, hey, I have to take this pill because it helps me with my mood or my hormones or whatever the case may be. Letting them see that whatever you're doing is normal for them, because they are watching and they notice those things. So if you're starting a conversation, though, and you want to have a talk with kids, one thing I can recommend is this book. It's by Julia Cook. Many of my counselor friends will be familiar with Julia Cook, but she has a book called A Flicker of Hope, and I think it's a great book to read with kids. You can get it on Amazon for around $8 or $9. And it has, you can see the graphic on the front, it has candles, and it talks about like your light going away and feeling that darkness and things like that. So this is a great book that can open up that conversation. Sometimes I use the movie Inside Out a lot. The kids will tell you that's my favorite movie. I have the characters around in my office and things too. I think that's a great one too, because you can see that in the movie, everyone has those emotions, right? It's normal to feel sad or mad or worried or disgusted or angry sometimes in your life. The problem becomes when it is overwhelming, and it is all the time. When you stop feeling joy and all you feel is sadness all the time, then that's when they need to ask for help. So I think books and movies sometimes can open that up. Sometimes there are celebrities. You can look at lots of examples of celebrities that have shared openly about their mental health issues. Sometimes it comes up in a TV show or another movie that you watch, and I think that just opens the door for a conversation. Asking questions often, and asking questions when there's nothing wrong. So rather than in the middle of a meltdown, what's wrong, what's happening, to ask open-ended questions at a time when things seem okay. So rather than just asking, how was your day today, ask kids to share with you, what was your favorite part of your day today? Or can you tell me everything that happened today? Can you tell me the best part of your day? Can you tell me who you played with at recess? And read their body language. One of the lessons that I've done recently with kids is we talk about listening with your eyes. And that's when you're watching for that facial expression and body language. And when a kid is telling you about their day, do they seem like they're happy with the way their day went? Or do they look like they're sad or worried or upset about something in their day? Another thing that can help is to tell about your day and to let them know, hey, this frustrating thing happened to me today at work, or I felt a little sad about something at work today. And it makes it seem more normal for them, and it makes them feel like they can be honest with you. I can tell you sometimes when I talk with kids who come to see me because they are upset about something, and I always ask them, have you talked to your parents or whoever they live with? Have you talked to them about it? And many times kids will say no, because I don't want to bother them because they're really busy and they're really stressed, and I don't want to add to their stress, or I don't want to make my mom cry, or I don't want to make them mad because I have a really good life and they're good to me, and I don't want them to think I don't appreciate those things. So making it normal and that it happens to you too, that you have these feelings as well, I think is very helpful. And put the phone down and all other distractions while you're having those conversations. If you can sit down and have dinner at the table and have that talk, that's fine. But don't do it when you're on your phone or you're watching TV. Turn the TV off, turn things off so that your attention is on them. And then listen without judgment. Make it so that it feels safe to tell you things rather than to respond to everything. also encouraging them to talk to other people. So it may be so much, like I just said, so many times you're not the person they want to talk to because they don't want to upset you. And I had a really great conversation with a parent recently, and she said it was okay for me to share this. You wouldn't know who the parent is, but I had recently had a conversation with her child, and she said, you know what, I'm glad they talked to you first. Because when they talked to me first, I was able to talk with the child about it and then let them know, I'm going to help you have this conversation with your mom. I was able to call the mom and prepare her to have that conversation so she wasn't caught off guard. She shared with me, if you hadn't called me first, I might have been really angry at my child for the things that they were saying, but once you put it in perspective for me, it made that conversation easier. So encourage them to talk to other people too, but plan that ahead of time and let them know who those safe people are. Is it an aunt or an uncle, a grandparent? Is it a close family friend that knows your family really well? A pastor at your church or a youth minister? Is it me at the school that you want them to come and speak with me? Let them know that you're not the only person you have to support them. And I think that's important that they know they have more than just you. They have other people they can talk to. And start looking for some warning signs. None of these things, I want to make sure you understand, none of these things mean your child has a mental illness or that they're suicidal or anything like that. But they are causes for concern, causes for conversation. So if they have suddenly become very restless, nothing entertains them, they're acting out behavior-wise. I always say that behavior is always a consequence of something else that has happened, something else that is going on. So when we see bad behavior, I don't believe there's any bad kids. I just think there's a reason for that behavior and finding out what that is. And sometimes that behavior is at school, sometimes it's at home. A lot of times the behavior is at school. A lack of energy, being very forgetful, withdrawing from their friends, withdrawing from activities that they used to find very interesting. If you notice a drop in grades, missing a lot of school, always trying to get out of going to school. My head hurts, my stomach hurts, I'm sick, I can't go to school, especially if they're fighting you on getting to school. Changes in their eating habits, and that can go either way, that they've suddenly stopped eating very much, or that they are eating a lot or hoarding food and hiding food. Those can be signs of something else going on. Changes in sleeping, they can't fall asleep at night, they wake up multiple times in the night, or all they want to do is sleep. Either one is a cause for concern. Pay attention to self-harming behaviors as well. Are they taking a lot of risks? Do you notice cuts and bruises and things on their arms and legs? And of course, substance abuse as well. We want to think that doesn't happen in elementary school either, but it does. Especially vaping has become a big thing, and we've seen that a lot with especially in middle school, but we're starting to see that in 5th grade, 4th grade as well. And then if you feel like you need some help or your child needs to talk to someone, you can start in a few different places. You can talk to your pediatrician. Sometimes they can refer you to someone. Sometimes they can rule out other physical things. Maybe this stomach ache and they don't want to come to school. Maybe it is a medical issue, a physical issue that needs to be checked out first. So talk with your pediatrician. You can talk with me. If you go to my website, it's counselorjohnson.com, and there is, at the very top, there's a link that says community resources, and there's a list of counselors and therapists in this area that have a relationship with Scott County Schools. So there's websites, phone numbers, you can call them to see about insurance. Most of them take insurance or Medicaid or anything like that. So check into those. I will tell you that they are busy. They are super busy because, like I said at the very beginning, the instances of anxiety and other mental health issues, they are on the rise. So sometimes when you call them, it is going to take a while to get an appointment. But go ahead and get that appointment scheduled. Sometimes it helps if you let them know that I referred you there from the school. And sometimes I get you in a little bit quicker if you sign a release and I can call them and say, hey, here's the issues this child is having at school. Here's the conversations I've had with them as a school counselor, and I really think they need to be seen. Sometimes that will get them in much quicker. And of course, if there's a more urgent need that we're concerned for the safety of that child, we can also do referral for behavioral health facilities. Sometimes a child needs to go, and as hard as that is, sometimes that's the best thing is for them to go into hospitalization or something like that. But they do have mobile assessments that they can do where they send someone out to assess here at the school or over Skype. Some of them are doing that online where they have the conversation there to assess that risk. I do a risk assessment here at school sometimes, and then if I ever do one of those, I contact you to say, hey, I think you need to do this. So rest assured with that. I think that's really all I had to say today. I was looking to see if there are any questions, and it doesn't look like I have any that are posted right now, but if you watch this later and you do have questions or concerns, go ahead and post those in the comments and I'll respond to your comment. Feel free to reach out to me, visit my website and look at those. And if you're struggling and need some more help to start that conversation with your child, then let me know and I can help talk you through it or role play it or whatever help that you may need. Thank you for tuning in today, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.